say starting small is good, but do some planning. Spend some time on the planning and the marketing end of it. That includes the marketing end and the planning of the system itself.
Welcome to Visionary Aquaponics, a podcast dedicated to inspiring a global aquaponics movement for food freedom, water wisdom, and permaculture-inspired aquaponics. Keep listening for the best advice from the world's pioneers and visionaries in backyard and commercial aquaponics. And now, here's your host, Maribou Latour.
So if you say, I'm going to have 10 greenhouses, this big, whatever the greenhouse sizes are, standard greenhouse, I'm going to end game is 10 greenhouses, I'm going to build a fish farm that will support those 10 greenhouses, right? I'm going to stock my fish because you're going to do stage production in your fish anyway, so you're going to have bugger all nutrient. Your first greenhouse, you set it up, and away you go. Start selling that greenhouse, and then roll out, okay, well, I've got good market penetration there, I've done some stuff into the restaurants or however you're selling it, then I'll roll over into the next greenhouse and start again with the next lot, without interfering with any of your other production. Instead of putting in the 10 greenhouses and all that capital and trying to build it, you can start with your one greenhouse, like starting small, but have the end game in sight. Right. Have the end plan in sight. The risk
so that you can expand.
Yes, absolutely. Farming is farming. If you've got 40 acres, you might not put 40 acres under crop. You'll put maybe 10 acres or whatever it is under crop. And see how it goes in the marketplace. You might have a variety of crops under there. You might have 4 different crops. Find out which is more successful and switch over. It's not a case of, I've got too many fish, or I'm killing my fish, or the system's not working. I've seen that a few times, just poor system design. But it's about that end of the market, the business end of the deal, where you're making your money. And if you have no idea what you're doing with that, the worst thing you can possibly do is grow a crop and then approach the market.
Right.
Sell it
first, then grow it.
Yeah, because what happens is look, the buyers in this game are very shrewd. They know what's going on. You bring them into your greenhouse, look at this wonderful stuff we've got here, and we've got all this stuff here. They'll go, yeah, I'll give you 20 cents a piece.
Mm-hmm.
They'll give you commodity prices straight out of the back. Start at the size your market can handle. You got to know what your market's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And look, go and see an accountant that is specific to agriculture businesses. Don't believe a consultant. I'm saying that, and I'm a consultant. Someone that's selling you product and selling you gear and selling you equipment will build you whatever you want. Yeah, because they make money. Go and see an accountant. Go and talk to a professional that's specific in agriculture. In terms of they're independent, they'll give you an independent decision on the money, whether it's feasible or not. Even if you do most of the heavy lifting yourself on the finances in the business, in the plan, you go, oh, yeah, I'm going to make $3 a lettuce, when in reality you're probably going to make about $1. You can do all of that, but then please go and give it to an accountant that knows what they're talking about. Let them run over it, let them go through it. If you have to pay him an extra few bucks or whatever it costs you to do that, it could save you a fortune down the road.
So do you just talk to accountants for marketing and sales projections, or do you go straight to the market and start negotiating ahead of time?
The thing in Sydney, for example, all of the fish and all of the vegetables were sold before we even built it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was sold.
Right.
At a price. We had sales contracts, supply contracts. All of the fish are already sold before anything was built.
Okay. So, and that's probably how you guys got the money and the capital to get the greenhouses going, because you already had those contracts in place?
Well, no. Well, the investor required that. I mean, he was investing in it anyway. So, but we needed that. That's part of your strategy, is that you have somewhere to sell your stuff first.
Right.
You've got to do that. You have to do that. And don't believe a restaurant. When you walk into a restaurant and say, listen, I've got these, look at these beautiful lettuce I grow, or taste these wonderful tomatoes, or whatever it might be. Oh, yeah, I'll give you $6 a pound for that. Don't believe it for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Get them under contract. Pay a lawyer to write you a simple supply contract, a basic supply contract, agree with the price, and get them to sign on the dotted line. And then go forth and produce it. Ask for much volume.
That's great advice. Does that work for a small producer who may only have, a few restaurants in town? Yeah.
Don't rely on a handshake agreement.
Okay.
Get it in writing. No matter who they are. They might be your best friend that owns a restaurant, and sometimes you'll get lucky. But look, get them signed up. If you're a serious business person and you want to show them that you're serious, the supply contract goes both ways. Yeah. So in other words, if you don't supply, there's a problem. Yeah. So you'll get the pain for that. If they don't buy it, then they get the pain for it. So essentially, just make sure that everyone's on the same page. You've got to meet that brief, you've got to meet that supply, and they've got to absorb that supply. And usually they're negotiable. With a restaurant, you might look at all of their variety of everything that they've got and their meal portion sizes and what do they need specifically, and you can have that really close relationship with them. And if you're looking at a boutique-style business, a small supply business, then, you've got that arrangement with them. And that can develop and change. And as long as you're doing that, you can have your 10 or so restaurants on board. A lot of work, but you'll be growing a lot of variety. And, an aquaponic system, that's great to have a lot of a variety, but some plants won't grow in the same, water parameters as others. So, you've got to look at your system design from that end. So once you've got all of this stuff, you've got this information, we want tomatoes, we want cucumbers, can you grow some of these mushrooms or whatever it is, then you can start breaking up your system and saying, well, how big can my system be here? This section I'm going to grow lettuce, this section I'm going to grow this, I'm going to grow this, and I'm going to grow this. And it might mean that you need to use different culture techniques for different plants. So that at least then you look at your system design after that. Don't do a design and say, I'm going to grow this. Go to the restaurants and ask them, what do they want? The worst you can do is have a greenhouse full of produce and then try and sell it.
Right. So what would you say is poor systems design?
Well, that's a hard one. Poor system design, inadequate filtration, inadequate life support systems for the fish, capacity for sterilization, food safety, all these sorts of things. There's an armada of things that could determine a poor design, but it also depends on where this thing is. In Australia, the designs need to be very, very good. Simply because of the legislation and the laws around growing food and supplying food are very, very strict. So in other places it's a bit more lenient, but still the life support systems for both the fish and the plants need to be there. If they're not there, it's a poor design. And it won't serve you very well in the long term. Some point down the road, I've seen it, there's a large farm over in America somewhere, I think just recently, it's been cobbled together out of barrels and things like that, and that's fine. Use whatever equipment's available to you, but give some thought to the size of this thing and that your fish are going to grow. I think they've now reached the oxygen limit on their systems itself for the fish, and they've had to put bigger pumps in to try and circulate the water more. And so they put bigger pumps in. That means their filtration retention times aren't right anymore. It's a nightmare. The last thing you want to be doing is adding to your system later. Because look, when you're farming, honestly, you don't have time for anything. Nothing. There is no such thing as time. When you're farming commercially, you are farming. The last thing you want to be doing is running around trying to sell your produce. You don't want to be. You won't have any time for it.
Right.
And the last thing you want to be doing is going, I didn't think of that. I better add some aeration there, or I better do this and I better do that. Because somewhere along the line, something's going to give way when your priority should be, once you're up and running, should be selling your produce, growing it and supplying it, growing and supplying, growing and supplying. You don't want to be mucking around with anything else. You don't have time. Unless it's very, very small.
Well, that's great advice. And so I was wondering, do you or have you had any experience growing other things besides food and flowers and those types of things, but have you had any success growing trees at all in aquaponic systems?
No.
Have you tried?
Like citrus trees and things like that?
Any kind of water-loving tree or even having a tree nursery attached or getting overflow from an aquaponic source to a tree or a tree nursery of some kind?
No. I haven't tried it. It's not really high on the radar when we're building food systems. We looked at growing moringa trees to feed tilapia on the farm, so trying to close that loop a little bit more. But we found we needed hectares of moringa trees and then a whole other labour force just to maintain and harvest that just to feed the fish. And it ended up costing more than the fish feed itself.
Is there no market for moringa for people? Because I know that it's an incredible superfood, but in your area, is there a market for that as well?
If you lived in India, well, they grow it everywhere there anyway. But no. So from a medicinal point of view here, I doubt it'd get any traction in the marketplace.
people aren't interested.
I can't say it would or it wouldn't. I doubt it would.
Yeah, and that's something that you would have? Mm-hmm.
We grew algae for nutraceuticals. We did all of that. We grew, saltwater aquaponics, where we're growing, macroalgae with saltwater fish waste for nutraceuticals. That was a tough one. We did a trial with the university down in Wollongong, and we grew black cobia and mulloway. They're two saltwater species, and grew macroalgae in a greenhouse.
Wow, I am very interested in saltwater aquaponics. I didn't know that you had experience with it, but you said it was very difficult.
No, it's not very difficult. Growing growing the volumes that you need, say in macroalgae and that, growing the volumes that you need is huge volumes. That's part of this other project that we're working on, and it's going to have 16 hectares of algae production. So with this big setup that I mentioned earlier. So it'll have 16 hectares of fish, it'll have 16 hectares of algal production, and it'll have 16 hectares or 32 hectares of plant production for food. So, yeah, it's not difficult at all. I mean, saltwater fish grow just like, freshwater fish. The same management principles are there. Algae production, you just need big volumes, really big volumes.
Much bigger than with regular aquaponics.
You're in a small system, 1,000 square meters or something like that, you're barely going to grow enough to be able to supply, say, a nutraceutical market or a company that works on nutraceuticals, and unless you start doing the value adding and processing the product on site yourself.
I see. Yeah, I think we've also kind of explored how there could be other markets surrounding the aquaponics industry, like insect production and other things like that would really work mutually, in combination with the commercial aquaponic systems.
Yeah.
What do you think would be the best or the most important enterprise that could be developed near these commercial farms that would most benefit them?
Well, then, if that was the case, if you're around commercial farms, smaller lot farms and things like that, well, then I'd be looking at a fish processing facility in terms of fish and plant processing, value-adding processing facility that sells all of that gear from all of those farms under one brand.
You mean like drying herbs, processing fish for frozen foods or things like that?
So it would be a collaborative effort. I'm working on a collaborative effort here in Australia with some farmers that do fish and rice crops and larger, these are 40-hectare operations, where it's sort of like a co-op setup where everyone chips in. They build a facility for processing and value adding, whatever that may be, and all of the gear. None of the gear is sold from the individual farms. It's all sold through one brand. Mm-hmm. And that gives them a bit more power in the marketplace in terms of volume of supply and consistency of supply, which gives them access to export market and whatnot as well. Mm-hmm. So, yes, that's what I would look at. So if you had a bunch of aquaponic farms around you, I'd be looking at getting them all in and on board and selling through one brand simply, and then they all pay a marketing fee or whatever it might be for that. They all pay an entry fee for it, and you make sure that you sell all of their produce so that the farmer can focus on farming. That's all they've got to do. They just farm. Satellite farming is a fairly common practice in some of the more Asian places. They have farms outlying wherever they are, be it fish farms or whatever they are. They'll have these farms outlying. Everything will come from the central source, which is things like fingerlings, fish feed, and all that. So you've got that buying power. When you say, I want to, this farm needs, 100 kilo of feed. That farm needs 300 kilo of feed. The central location doing all the buying gets to be able to use bulk volume buys and discounted buys. And same with the legislation and licensing. At least then the farms don't need to worry about all of the legislation around HACCP plans and things like that being replicated on every farm. They can all do that through one facility and pay one fee only. Mm-hmm. So because the farms that I'm seeing around the place, popping up here, there and everywhere, are nowhere near big enough. So it's worthwhile for them all to cooperate with each other and collaborate and form these sort of co-op arrangements where, whether they're a CSA arrangement like they're doing boxes out to the market, that way you've got a variety of farms growing a variety of things, you've got consistency of supply, and all of your legislation, license costs and all that are all in one place rather than 10 or 15.
Mm-hmm. Right. That could stress out each new startup farm just trying to go through the legislation of food safety and processing and fit.
So if you just focus on farming, then you don't need to worry about it. You're not sitting in your van on the day that you're supposed to be harvesting. You might get up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning and harvest, and then you've got to pack it, and then you've got to get it in a van. You've got to run around all over the place. But then there's other things you need to do. You need to grade your fish on your farm. You've got to do all these other things, but you're not on the farm doing that. Mm-hmm. Or you're the people that you employ, it's another person you need to employ, and the cost of a van and all these things to run around servicing all of these people. Whereas if you had one market exposure, look, a lot of fruit and veg here in Australia does that. They have co-ops that they sell their lemons and things to, and that co-op does all of the marketing for them. So that the farmer can just focus on farming. They make excellent money. They've got some guarantees of sales. They don't have to worry about it. And the guys that are working on the selling and marketing, that's all they focus on. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that they, instead of like a farmer in an aquaponic farm, he or she needs to be an engineer, a chemist.
Needs to be everything.
Everything.
It's very inefficient.
On top of that, you've got to be a business owner. You've got to be a finance director. You've got to, all of these wonderful things that you've got to do. If you're going to alleviate some of that, where you're just moving your produce every day or every week or however it might work, straight to a central location, you forget about it. You get paid, done. Yeah. And then everyone's doing that. And if people were thinking about branding aquaponics under its own thing, because there's a lot of talk around organics and, certified organics and all that sort of stuff. The only way that aquaponics I think, is going to get a leg up and have that differentiation in what is your point of difference in the marketplace? Mm-hmm. Why go organic? Why not set up your own brand and do all of that marketing and let the marketing arm do all that education of the consumer?
Mm-hmm. Right, because with aquaponics, there are already implications that there aren't things in the water and in the food that are acceptable in organic farming even. So those types of things are not acceptable in aquaponics. So there is a huge differentiation there, and there should be a difference in the marketing as well.
Yeah. So I mean, if America has a lot of these small farms, and I think they're doing great things over there. And look, if I think some of these guys got together and really worked together on it and put forward the marketing plan. Someone like the Aquaponic Association might be able to pull that off, but I wouldn't buy into an association doing it. The farmers need to do it. Mm-hmm. And, if they looked at it from that angle, they could set up their own criteria, their own marketing brand, and sell all of this aquaponic produce through one brand. Let that marketing end, they all have a say in it. They all have a say whether they're going to do dried herbs or whatever they're going to do, or they might do a mix of lemon thyme, if you like, lemon thyme with fish cryovac or something. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many wonderful options, and sell it under that brand instead of trying to fight with all this organic rubbish that's going on. Right. Forget it. I mean, the farmed locally. People will buy locally before they'll buy anything else. And, I think from a marketing strategy point of view, the industry needs to get a hold of itself. They probably need to slap themselves in the face for their egos and just get on board with it and get going. They really do. Otherwise, it's just going to be a lot of small farmers doing a lot of nothing. And they're never going to really pick anything up. What will happen is someone, like a supplier, will decide that's a good idea, a consultant or someone, and then they will have control over the brand instead of everyone having control over it. Mm-hmm. And I expect that's probably not too far from coming through. Someone will, like the Farmed Here brand, someone will come up with an aquaponically farmed brand that has all this criteria and all these wonderful things. And I think that it's better off that the farmers do that together and don't let some single entity do it or a private enterprise do it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the organic certification and then the USDA taking over that and all of the different politics that go with it, and it's just it's harder to control even after it's, we think the certification is good because it protects us, but then the people who are running the certification then start allowing other things, and it is a little bit difficult to, I don't know, it does make it easier to control from a government point of view. And it's a little bit more corruptible in that way once you do start to brand it. But if the farmers collaborate and if they have and maintain control over that kind of branding, then that would be a really great thing.
That would be better than organic. I mean, like the farm in UAE, the only thing that we use in there is neem oil. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else is added to that system. Nothing. We use neem oil in the cooling pads to evaporate, so it gases the greenhouse, and we use that every couple of days. It's not a very strong mix, and that's it. Everything else there is no pesticides, there's no fertilizers. I think we added about 20 kilo of iron, I don't know, 6-7 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, there's nothing else added.
You said you use neem oil as a gas in the greenhouse?
Yeah, for the pests.
Uh-huh, okay. And it just doesn't hurt your fish at all?
Well, no, my fish are completely separate.
Oh, they're not in the greenhouse where...
No. Why would I put fish in a greenhouse? The climatic conditions for fish are completely different to those.
Right, but I thought, in the greenhouse that you would have a shaded, cool place for them, depending on how you design your greenhouse. You would have them either below ground or in a cool pit or insulated.
They are in the ground. They are insulated. They are in an insulated building. I certainly wouldn't put them in the greenhouse.
So they're in an entirely different building. Okay, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
I mean, even when you look at that from an organic standard point of view, I mean, if you're looking at the certified sort of thing, I mean, the organic standards also say that you must have organic and non-organic crops separated. Mm-hmm. So how you could possibly get organic certification with a single loop putting the fish straight into the plants has got me confused. I don't even know how the certifiers got around that. They're separated. But look, that's all we use. But why? I see a lot of people banging their heads over this organic certification. We sold the crops in UAE based on its merit. We got the nutritional data. The nutritional facts you see on things, the cans, things like that. Yeah. We got the nutritional facts on our crops. Mm-hmm. We had them tested, and then we went into that supermarket and we tested their product, and then we handed it to them, and we said, well, this is what we grow, this is what you sell. Mm-hmm. And so we sold it based on the scientific evidence, not some standard that someone else might come up.
I'm sure the consumers have some say in that too when they go to the shelves and pick. I'm sure most of them end up enjoying the flavors of more nutritious foods grown in aquaponics.
It's the only vegetable item, I think, at this point in time in the world that actually has its nutritional facts on the packaging. We sold it based on its own merits. Mm-hmm. They weren't even interested in organic standards. Mm-hmm. They came out, they saw the farm, they saw our operating procedures, they worked out we disclosed our inputs and outputs as you do with organic certification. They had some questions around it, they took some crop, they certainly tested it themselves for bacterial issues because they have a lot of E. coli issues over that way. And you sell it on its own merits, but farmers should get together and, just start selling.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for all of that. And I just wanted to ask you if you have any more jewels of inspiration that you'd like to leave our listeners regarding aquaponics and the business of aquaponics.
I could leave with 1,000 of them, but I think we've discussed the main things. I mean, like you say, starting small is good, but do some planning. Spend some time on the planning and the marketing end of it. That includes the marketing end and the planning of the system itself. Do some of the heavy lifting in there and look, get someone else to look at it. Because I know even myself, I get all excited and passionate about something. I put the blinders on and I can't see clearly. I always give it to another person that I trust, that I know is going to give me an honest opinion of it, or a professional that's going to give me an honest and unbiased opinion of it, and they say, look, that's a stupid idea, Paul, what are you doing that for? And then they go, I look at it and go, actually, yeah, you're right, I didn't see that. Look, get someone else to look at it. Don't just run in, go to a course and get all excited and run in and change your life that way. Just take a little bit of time with it. If you spend 6 months doing the planning and just getting it worked out, I mean, the facilities we build take a year, 2 years in the planning, So take some time and get it right first before you spend too much money. Mm-hmm. That'd be the best I'd tell you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you. That's great advice.
Thank you for listening to the Visionary Aquaponics podcast. To learn more about aquaponics, please visit our website at www.visionaryaquaponics.com. There you'll find more strategies, tips, and tricks to get you started in your aquaponics journey.